Life story, Mr. Emmett McGruder, ABCD mark. All right, sir, you ready?
I'm ready, like Freddie.
You're ready. All right. I don't know who Freddie is, but he's been ready for a long time. He's been ready all my life. Life story, Mr. Emmett McGruder.
I was born in Columbus, Georgia. A house on East 8th Street, 2733. In the house with my mother, grandmother. It was the year 1930, May the 30. The midwife was Miss Donzella King. And by being in the house with my mother and grandmother, I was raised up. Grandmother was a mother in the church. She used to drag me along with her. And then my father, Mr. McGruder, he wanted to take me. It's bad to have two grandparents fussing over you. So I would go from one to the other one. Then I started going to church with my grandfather. Sometime my grandmother said, "You got to go with me." So as I got older, about 10 years old, I joined the church with my grandfather. Then my mother found out about it. She said, Miss McGruder trying to take you away from her. So I had to join the church with her. So I was baptized twice. So she was satisfied, my grandmother was satisfied. Coming up in the house, we never went hungry. Always had food to eat. And before I got 14 years old, I had 2 tailor-made suits. Went downtown to the store and the people measured me up. I think I was about the only one in Columbus, black kid, could have a tailor-made suits. And that was good. So during that time, I got up, I wanted to work. I got me a job out in Fort Benning, put my age up. Started working in the officer club. I learned to wait tables. I made enough money. I was making more money out there than my mother and grandmother made. So when I wake up to get in the summertime to get ready to go back to Fort Benning, I only got 25 cents. That's 10 cents bus fare to take me downtown and take the other 15 cents to catch the bus to Fort Benning. But I ate free. I didn't let them know nothing about it. So I told my aunt about it, and she talked to my grandmother. And so my grandmother came home from work. She said, "Emmett, fix me a cold glass of water." So I went in there. She said, "I don't want no smudges on it." Well, it ain't got a clean glass, put ice in it, brought her a glass of water. Instead of reaching for the water, she grabbed my neck. And with that left hand, she said, "Boy, what goes on in this house, you don't go telling nobody else nothing about it. It stays in this house. You hear me?" I said, "Yes, man." I couldn't hardly say nothing because she hold my neck so tight. She turned me loose. So the next morning, I had 50 cents on the counter over the fireplace. I said, "Boy, that choking is worth that." So I could buy me a hot dog and a drink. I going on into the movie. Then going on out to Fort Benning and work. Come home. Put my money back up there in my pocket. I didn't take it out of my pocket. They take it out of the pocket. I said, "Okay. I got the remedy for this." I got me a fruit jar with a lid on it, clean it out. When I come home at night, I put me some money in my fruit jar and hide it under the house. So I started buying me a shirt here and a shirt there, Bostonian shoes. She said, "Boy, them shoes cost you a lot of money." I said, "They don't cost but $2. So I started saving my money like that. I like to swim. Group of us go swimming. We'll run the white boys out. We'll catch them in the creek, Bull Creek. So one day, we got down there swimming. Somebody shot a gun. We jumped, came out of the Bull Creek, grabbed my shirt and my pants as I was running, putting one foot in my pants, running, put the other foot in. Then old Brown boys grabbed my shirt. I thought somebody was behind me, so I just got another step further. Honey Child said, "You better go back and get that shirt." I said, "That shirt can stay there." And the next day, Honey Child had that shirt on. So my mama said, boy, what that shirt you had on? I just bought that shirt Saturday, blue jean shirt. I didn't know she had washed all the clothes. I'm looking around in the closet. I said, it was in here. No, you been down on that creek. She said, come on, pull them pants off. Why I got to pull my pants off? She said, I bought them. Get out of them. She had those extension cords she was ironing. She grabbed that extension cord after I pulled my pants off and put my head between her legs. Boy, she had natural butt. And it heat me up so hot, and I turned my head sideways, I bit on the leg. And she opened my leg, and I head out that back door. And I sit in the yard, but I was scooting all around and everything. So when my grandmother came home from work, they were sitting in the swing. She was telling my grandmother what she done and how I was doing in the yard, scooting around, trying to cool my butt off. And I looked around, I said, you know, this is a shame, somebody laughing, how they whip you like that, you know. Boy, I said, I got to do something better. So anyway, that taught me a lesson, not to go swimming and leave my clothes down there. So finally she said, I'm gonna let you start going to the wire. Shoot, that was a blessing. And I got down there one day, I went down there, some boys was in there. Instead of going to the bathroom, they moved me right in the water in the swimming pool. So I turned around, I said, I saw that I couldn't go. So there was another pool across the river in Alabama called Phoenix City. And I started going over there, and I would help the guy clean out the swimming pool, take the nets, clean the leaves and stuff out. Then I started swimming free. I kept my quarter. That was my movie fare. So I come up, one of my uncles had a club. I would help him. Then my daddy's brother had a grocery store. He taught me how to cut meat and stuff. Then I started weighing meat in. Some of the old women would come in there. They thought I didn't know the scale, didn't know how to weigh. They said, you cheat me. I'm going to tell Willie, you cheat me. You don't know what you're doing. I put my finger on the scale like this and let it go up more than what it's supposed to be. Now that's what I'm talking about. Now you're doing right. So Willie taught me a lot, though, about grocery and stuff like that. My grandmother, she didn't get married until after all her sisters got married and brothers. She was the oldest one, Eliza. Her daddy came out of slavery. So when daddy and mother died, he married a woman named Georgia Hunter. And by them having 7 girls and 2 boys, she got married last. She married a man named Reuben Miller. His daddy was named Hamp Miller. His daddy was white. His mama was sold off after he was born. He never knew his mother. And when he got grown and he married, his daddy helped him accumulate this land, 2,200 acres of land. Some of that land is still in the family today. His son, Reuben, sold his portion of land and moved to Columbus, Georgia, him and my grandmother, Eliza. They bought a house brand new house for $900. That land is in Fort Mitchell, Alabama. Clarence Miller is on some part of it. His brother Claude, his sister Murtis, is still split up in some of Claude Miller's, Hamp Miller's son, Claude. He kept his portion and split it up. Now, I don't know what happened to the daughter's land. He gave her less land because he figured the man supposed to provide for the woman. Her name was Sally. She ended up being a nurse at Tuskegee, over there in Tuskegee. At the hospital, she was working doing that experiment, that syphilis experiment over there. She died in Tuskegee at 105, and she donated her body to Tuskegee for experiment. As a teenager in the South, up until 15 years old, it was segregation. You see signs said black, colored. They always had color, like a bathroom or color. go this way or colored here. White sit in the front, black sit in the back of the bus. You see, if the more white get on the bus, then sometimes the blacks have to get up and stand up and let them sit down. She was things like that. And as a teenager up to 15 years old, at 15, that's when something happened and I went into the Army. In the South, when an old person says something, they believe that person. And I had a test to do the next day in school. And this old lady, she always come to the house. She was looking for a handout. She always bringing news to my grandmother. She told my grandmother that some boys was over there breaking windows out in a house down from my uncle's grocery store. And I'm sitting in a chair just like I am now getting my lesson. And I told my grandmother, I said, I'm at home. I'm getting my lesson. Wasn't I getting my lesson right here? She said, yeah. You was here getting your lesson at 7 o'clock. She said, this happened at 10 o'clock. I said, I don't be out at 10 o'clock at night. She said, well, I got to whoop you anyway, because that old lady said it. I said, that old lady, she lying. She said, don't you say nothing about old people lying, Mama. I said, well, I was sitting here. She said, well, I'm going to hit you anyway. I said, well, she went on and done that, and she whipped me. And I said, this is the last, I made up my mind, this is the last one that I'm going to get. So I was hairy anyway, beard, mustache. I went down to the local board. I asked the lady, when do I have to register to go in the Army? She said, when is your birthday? I gave her a fake birthday. And she said, you can register now. She gave me a selected service card. I went on down to the board. And I volunteered at 15 years old to go in the Army. When I went in, they were calling like a ceasefire. The peace treaty wasn't even signed. So in 46, the war was coming to a close. But they still had a black army and a white army. Black soldiers didn't stay with the white. You had separate quarters. More or less, the white quarters were better than the black quarters. During the war, they was fighting for rights they didn't have. They were fighting for the rights that the white folks wanted to have. So during World War II, a lot of activists came up with guys got in the Army, and a lot of them rebelled after they got out. The Tuskegee Airmen brought a lot out of that conflict, because they showed what blacks could do. From the Buffalo Soldier all the way up until Tuskegee Airmen, we've had some fierce men, even some cowboys back in them days here. I mean, we had some bad cowboys back in them days. But the white man still didn't want to understand that we could just as good as them, or better, you see. So I went in the Army about 2 months. I came home with a soldier suit on. They said, you better pull it off before the MP get you. I said, I'm a soldier now. So they finally left Fort Benning and went to Scottsfield, Illinois, in basic training. From there, I went to Laurie Field, that was in Denver, Colorado, Wichita Falls, Texas. I ended up taking weapon repairment from a 45 up to a 37 millimeter. Then when I left Denver, sent me down to Kelly Field, San Antonio, airplane mechanic school. And the instructor, we had a black instructor, and I didn't like the way he talked to us. He always said, you people, and you know how white folks always holler about you people, they mean they calling you the N-word, you know. So I volunteered to go overseas. I thought they were going to send me to Germany, they sent me to Japan. And before I got ready to go, I wrote home and told my mother, I said, send me my birth certificate, I could get out. So I had got into California then. She said, you said you was a man when you left here, now you still a man. I'm not sending you nothing. So I had to stay in there, went on to Yokohama, Japan. I ended up on Okinawa. So I stayed in the Army 3 years, 2 months and 5 days, and got out at high noon. I did Davis Mountain Air Force Base, Tucson, Arizona. And I told him, hallelujah. Yeah, white people made money off of black folk. A lot of black folks. They were making corn whiskey. That was a trade for some of the men. Just like my uncle, my mama's sister's husband. And when the sheriff would raid another house somewhere and get a batch of corn whiskey, he'll bring it to my uncle. And on Monday morning, he'll come by there. My uncle had the money balled up in his hand, and he'll go around on the driver's side of the car, and he'll drop it down in the seat, drop it down in his lap. He said, okay, Harry, I'll see you later. One time, it was a Ku Klux Klan close to voting, and the Ku Klux Klan come around through in front of our house on 8th Street on trucks riding, hitting the side of the car and stuff like that. So they always said, they coming, you know. They want us to have the same rights they do to us, but our people have built this country. It's bad to say you living in a country and they want you to serve the country, but you don't have the same rights. See, that's what made a lot of soldiers when they went off into service. Some of them stayed in France, some of them stayed in foreign countries. They wouldn't come back to this country because of the racial stuff profile here. But see, white man, they can lay down with black woman and get babies, but they don't want you to have the same right. It's very few if white men got babies by black women that sent them off to school, done anything for them. Some of the stores downtown in Columbus, you go down there and buy a pair of shoes, they didn't want you to try them on. But my mother was a staunch person. If she couldn't try the shoe on, she wouldn't spend her money. So she'd take us downtown and buy a shoe. I'd sit down and try them on. She'd be sitting right there. Yeah. Oh, my mother, man, I'm gonna tell you one thing, what she doing, they had black kids then on bicycles at the grocery store, and I was working at this little grocery store, delivering a little package of groceries to white people when they called to the store. This old man went to raise his foot up, kicked me, I turned around and went into him. And so I knew my mother was going to come by that store when she get off of work. So she came by the store, and I like I was crying, made me some tears. She said, what's wrong with you? I said, that old meat cutter raised his foot up, tried to kick me in my butt. She said, what? My mother always carried a blade right here in her Brazil. She said, any white man that would hit her, she's gonna be the last of it. She went in there and ran that man out behind that meat counter.
To that point, the media gives us today an impression that in the 30s and the 40s, that black folks were subservient and always scared. It sounds to me that that's not correct.
You had some black people back in them days, they didn't take no trash. You still had some of them wanted equal right. And they'll try to gang up and try to do something to them, whoop them. And just like Dr. Brewer, Sr., he was a real philanthropist. If the poor people didn't have no money or something, he still would take care of them. And he'll come around, he had property house around Columbus. He'll sit there with somebody cooking. He'll wait till the food gets through and he'll eat on it. He'll eat supper with them or whatever and go ahead on about his business. A man was drunk, staggering like this on First Avenue. And a policeman took his billy club out and whooped that man across the head everywhere, all the way to the jail. So Dr. Brewer's office was upstairs and the clothing store downstairs. Dr. Brewer owned the building. And so he asked this man Flowers, would he testify against this policeman, that the brutality. So anyway, when Dr. Brewer before he got ready to leave office, they asked him to stop down at the clothing store. When he stopped down at the clothing store, they got to talking. Somebody back there, they shot him and killed him. Get rid of him. Because they didn't want him going around protesting how brutality, how the whites doing black. They killed him. So they squished it, never was arrested. So anyway, when it boiled down to it, somebody called this man at 3 o'clock in the morning. He went and met him. Somebody killed him. So if a black man was protesting brutality for white, they always want to shut him up. Well, my grandfather, he was a plasterer right in Columbus, and a mason. He wanted to teach his sons the trade. And my daddy wanted one of his sons to be a plasterer, see. And so I ended up being with him, working in the same union local with him. And I ended up being my daddy's boss. Yeah. See, every plasterer can't do board work, what we call ornamental work, like in the state capitol, theater, and everything like that. They can do walls and ceiling, but they can't do the ornamental work. You have to be taught that. That is a special trade. It's a lot of work still standing right there in Columbus. Now, there's some churches and stuff that work that my daddy done now. And so one time, my grandfather was a contractor. He wasn't paying my daddy the same amount of money he was paying the other guy. So my daddy quit him. He went to work for somebody else. And so Papa walked out there on the job where he was and told him, said, son, I'm going to pay you like everybody else. Come on back and work with him. So when I was working with my daddy, he would get a job. He paid me first. He said, I'm not going to do you like Pa done you. He said, when I was coming up, if I didn't do the work right, I was wearing short pants. He'd bring me down off of that scaffold, be this high, whatever high. He said he'll whip me and put me back, told me to get back up there and do it like I want to do it. And I asked him, when he asked me, he said, I want you to be a plasterer. I said, you remember what you told me about Papa? What he done? He said, I'm not going to do you like that. He said, I'm going to make a plasterer out of you. I worked on the state capitol in Atlanta here. I worked on the Fox Theater, different places. I worked on the Capitol in Lansing. I worked on Sparrow Hospital, Lansing Gym. I ran St. Lawrence. I was going to high school after I got back to high school and finished my high school. First married, her name was Ruth Biggers, and she wasn't going to this high school. My first son, she got pregnant. I married her. At that time, I said, oh, do I want to get married? My grandmother, I come home at night, come home from football practice, she hollering and screaming and talking. Boy, you gonna marry that girl? Mama talking about, boy, you're not going to be like your daddy. I said, boy, I don't know what I want to go home at night now from school. So I ended up, we got married, and I still stayed in school. I was out on the football field, and Principal Duval came out on the football field, told the football coach, Spencer, that I couldn't go to school no more. I went in the office, and next day, I talked to him. I said, why I can't go to school? He said, you got a good person. I said, she don't even go to this school. He said, okay. I said, okay. I went in his office. I talked to him. I pleaded with him. I went back to another principal that I knew, Professor Moses. I said, can you talk to him? I said, you're a friend of yours? He said, I went back to Professor Moses. He said, it won't do no good. I said, all right. So I had people living in Montgomery, Alabama. And I went over there and I applied to St. Jude Institute. I finished at St. Jude Institute there in Montgomery, Alabama. So when my grandmother heard that it was a Catholic school, boy, I was in hell waters again. She figured you was praying to the priest. You don't pray to the priest. So, boy, I had to hear it again. So she finally got over it, and I finished that. And they were studying. They was a year behind us. in the books. I said, I can't study it. I had all this. I went to the father. I told him all the subjects I've had and everything. So between the football coach there, Mr. James, at St. Jude, I went to Alabama State. I took the entrance exam there. So I started at Alabama State College. And still married. Then coming home, working. I ended up, after 2 years, my daddy said, you going to school to be a teacher, you make more money than being a plasterer. Teachers don't make no money. At that time, teachers didn't make no money then. So the teacher, he said, teachers are looking for plasterers and cement mason and brick mason. So I came home. We ended up, we had more children. Yeah, Ruth had 6 kids. Derek, the first kid. That was Errol. That was Gail. Nedra. That was Wayne and Irish. Then that didn't work. And so I left. Then I went to Hamilton, Ohio.
So then life moves forward.
Life moved forward.
And you meet another person at a basketball game. Tell me about that story. Tell me her name and that whole story.
Well, she was looking sweet in her shorts.
Hot pants. Hey, hot pants.
That was Mary's mother. So her name was Ann. And we had 4 children. Angela. And that was Mary. That was Emmett. And Mark.
So you was at the basketball game, you see a pair of shorts walking. Tell us the story.
I started talking to her. She wanted to talk. I said, okay, I'm going to still keep on bugging you. So after every time they were playing basketball, I would go back down there. They were playing City League basketball then. She was about 22 years old. In my lifetime, I've lived in Bellevue, Illinois, Denver, Colorado, San Antonio, San Rafael, California. Okay, then lived at Hamilton, Ohio, Lynchburg, Virginia, Columbus, Ohio, Washington, D.C., Richmond, Virginia, Norfolk, Virginia, Lansing, Michigan, Detroit, Michigan, Manistee.
Tell me some of your most memorable times, moments about Lansing, Michigan.
In Lansing, Michigan, some of my memorable times when I had the Little League football game, Little League football team there, and a guy called Tom Jackson. Tom Jackson. We had a Little League football team working with kids, you know. That's where Mark and Roy and a lot of group of the kids were playing. Well, that was a good memory then. And one of the memories when I was president of the local there, union, dealing with the trade. And president of the apprenticeship committee, trying to get young kids into different trade. And by being vice president of the Council of the Cement Mason and Plasters of the state of Michigan, I had a good knowledge on that, working with Bob Riddle with the Labor Department, getting us money for the apprenticeship program, see, and stuff like that. And I had fond memories about running different jobs, like when they built the first mall there in Lansing Mall. I was a foreman of the plastering crew there. And just about to the end of it, this wasn't too good a fun. I saw my wife and all the kids coming out there. They had open part of the mall, and they were looking for me. And one guy told me, he said, hey, So your wife and kid, they down there looking for you. So I know what they looking for. They want to shop. Come wanted some money to shop on that part of the mall where they're open, see. Because we done the whole entrance of that mall from the center part. So then part of the few stores, that was a pretty industry there. And I had one part about St. Lawrence Hospital when I was on the job there running the plastering crew. One of the mechanical workers asked me, he said, "Do you have any problem about white guys working with you?" I said, "I don't have no problem with them, just like black guys." I said, "As long as they do the work, it's all right with me." So one day as one of the guys, he had finished up a school out in Mason. They didn't have he was a foreman, he didn't have nowhere to put him, so they sent him over there to work under me, see. He thought he was coming over there and take my place running St. Lawrence Hospital, the wing that we was doing. But I was the foreman on that job, so I come down through I was up on the 30th floor and I walk, I didn't do nothing but walk around and see if everybody, the laborers got doing their work and see if they got the plasterers material there for the plaster. So this one guy was telling this other guy, said, he said, Ian can't run no job. They don't know how to run no job. And he was a half-butt plasterer himself. So when I heard the N word, I didn't say nothing to him. When he looked around, he saw me. I walked on down there, went on downstairs, went to the telephone, called the office. I told the secretary to write his check up, turn the time in. And she said, "I'm glad you're getting rid of him." And so when I came back around, checking again, he was gone. When he came back that Tuesday, I think it was that Tuesday, Wednesday, he came back. I met him in the parking lot. I gave him a check. I said, "You left the job and didn't tell me you were gone." I told Duke, I said, "Duke is not the foreman on this job." I got sick. I said, "I can't use it. I had to get somebody else." So he left. So I didn't have no problem with it. That you run a fair shop, that's all. Well, I wasn't going to have that on the job. So Larry Brooks, he asked me one day what happened, and I told him. He said, "I'm glad you got rid of him."
Tell us about the card parties on Butler Street.
Oh, that was a friend of mine, lived in Columbus, Ohio. I didn't play. He played because he knew all. His brother in Chicago made cards and dice, and he would get everything there. So he'd bring all the material up to Lansing, and I let him sit there and play, see. He rode the Greyhound bus from Columbus, Ohio to Lansing. And he left on a plane going to Chicago to pick up some more material to go back to Columbus, Ohio. He had to broke everybody in Lansing.
Okay, tell me about you and Mr. Red Eye.
Oh, Red Eye had his plays and I had mine. Sometimes he didn't have his business, wasn't too good. I had mine. And he'd come over there, I let him run the card game. Oh, I made some money now. They got fat off of it. I always brought mine home.
He came in one night and threw a wad of money up in the air, and we all dove for him.
So, based on that, what I just heard, you're the one that invented Make It Rain.
But to tell the truth, though, my daughter Gail came home from Western Michigan. She was going to Western Michigan. She came home that weekend. "Dad, I need $400 before I go back to school." I said, $400, girl? I said, "Why did you call me ahead of time and let me know what you need?" "Well, Daddy," I said, "Well, Daddy, nothing. I don't want to hear that. You talking about, I'm listening to what you said. $400? I'm sitting there after I got off of work that Friday. I came home that evening, took me a shower and went to bed about 1 o'clock, about 12, 1 o'clock. I get up by that time. I left and went out. Think I went over to John Willis. You know, John Willis, that wizard. Remember John had that pool room? He had that place upstairs up there. I went up there, I went over there. I won about $700. Took my time, they had the cards there, playing Georgia Skin. And a lot of people that around there, I won about 700. I came home, I woke Gail up that Sunday, it was that Sunday morning, I woke her up out of her sleep. I had the $400 and I had $20 more left, $20 more. I had $420. I didn't have it all in one thing. I said, now, I counted that $400 up. I said, here's $400. Don't you come back here unless you call me and let me know what you need. I said, you leave me with $20 now. Yeah.
Tell us a story about Miss Hattie Jackson.
Oh, I met her when I knew her brother and her mother before her. Her mother, my uncle, was married to her mother's sister. So when my uncle died, my Uncle Ernest died, they came to the funeral. And that's when I met her. So she was talking around in there, she was talking, and I was looking, and she was talking. I was single. I'm just watching. And so I said, that's a country girl like that. She must know how to cook. So I kept going back over there and turning around, seeing what I could do around in there and everything. So got everything together and we started talking. So mom and brother got ready to leave after the funeral. Next day or two, what, it was 2 days after the funeral, she was sitting around in there. And so Baby said, we call her brother Baby, said, sister, I'm finna go. You going? This is the last call now, we're going on out. So she stayed on there, she didn't leave. I said, okay. Yeah, I said, all right then. I said, sweet Alabama, stay here to be all right. So she stayed there with her aunt. We got talking everything each day. After I get up and work, I stop by there. Then we started talking, we latched on. So I told her, I said, I'm gonna tell you this, I don't believe in shacking now. I said, we can get married. Before then, she went back to Alabama. And then she would call me at night, wait till 2 o'clock in the morning, call me at 3. Said, who in the house with you? I said, nobody in this house with me. So boy, I said, you must be ready to come back here. So I put a plane ticket in the air for her. I said, you can come on back here. So going to the airport, I drove to the airport, and to get her, I even forgot where I parked my car. So I went back over there to try to find my car. I couldn't find my car, so now I know I parked my car with. So I go back over there, she's standing out there on the side there. I said, shoot, this ain't gonna work. So I got me a limo, guy driving there. And I went home in the limo. Come on, I said, I'll come back tomorrow and get the car. So I drove the other car out there and went straight to my car, on up in the garage.
So you and Miss Hattie are historians. You invented Make It Rain, and no disrespect, she invented the booty call. This is a historical family. Wow. That's all right.
Derek came to school, and tell you a funny thing about him. One time as he coming up, he was going to school in Columbus, Ohio. He said he used to want to go to work with me and get away from the girls. And I'd take him out there, he'd burn up everything in sight. We were doing some houses, working on some houses. He said, Daddy, how can you stand this out here? I said, when you go home, there's heat in the house, ain't it? He said, yeah. I said, you smell food on the stove, don't you? He said, yeah. I said, you got clothes on your back, right? Yeah. You got your bicycle? Yeah. I said, that's why I have to stand the cold weather. So anyway, he said, you never have to worry about me going to school. He started off at Lansing Community College. He joined the Naval Reserve. That was that Vietnam thing. And after he had to go into Vietnam, but when he came back, he went to Michigan State. And he graduated and got his master from Michigan State. Oh, passed away.
Okay.
Yeah. Gail finished, she finished Sexton High School. And she went to Western. That's when came home and put me in bad shape.
When you learned to make it, when you invented Make It Rain.
Yeah. So I made arrangements for her. So she went to Western Michigan, she got her master. And now she got her McDonald's franchise. Nadja was a beautician. She used to do all the stars' hair when they come to Atlanta. A lot of the stars' hair. She was a beautician. Iris, she worked at Livonia Lightning. She worked at, in Lithonia. Yeah, she was working at, she was secretary out there. Wayne worked, he went to school, and one day the teacher sent me a letter and said him and 2 or 3 more boys were upsetting their class and typing, you know. And so I read the letter. When I came home from work, I always read my mail. And when he came in the house, I gave him the letter to read. I said, what you say about that? Well, Daddy, I don't know. I don't be doing nothing like that. I don't be doing nothing. I was working down at Novi on that hospital there. And I said, I tell you what, I'll be late in the morning going to work. We're going to school together. He said, well, Daddy, I do talk back there sometimes. I do talk.
He ratted himself off.
Angie? Oh, don't tell me about Angie, boy. I'm going to tell you the truth. I was working in Illinois at that time. Angie went to the University of Michigan. Took her down there. She went there first year. Took her back the second year. And before I could get back to Peoria, Illinois, she was back home. So she ended up finishing online. She finished, got her degree for finishing. She a problem child.
That's what I heard.
Yeah, she ended up finishing Harry Hill. Went on to Michigan State. So I had no problem. I told them they must go to school just like my mother wouldn't let me quit school. So education is a must on the black. You got to force kids. Cause see, I went to parents and teacher meeting and let the teachers know me and I know them. I will go to that school now. I had to go get him from Grand Valley, bring him back and put him in St. Lawrence, in Lansing General Hospital. He fell out in the shower. Yeah, told the doctor, go on, do exploratory surgery on him. He was deficient in iron. And iron, he wasn't supposed to eat no hot peppers or nothing in that thing. After that, that guy Mark, he was something else, man. I can tell you some story about him. In Detroit, when I was living in Detroit, I used to go get him. No, he'll catch a ride to Detroit, work with me on Saturday and Sunday. I'm paying him $12 an hour just so he'll have money when he go back to school, you know. And he didn't do too much. Kept a pencil in his hand. Every hour he'd write it down. I work hours. You don't need to write no hours down. I know how many hours you work. You're not doing nothing anyway. Until I get through, all you're doing is cleaning up where, you know, stuff. I got plaster all over the floor, you know, whatever stuff covered up. So the funniest day time about this joke, took him back one Sunday evening after we got through. He said, hey, I need to go by Kroger. No, I need to go by the dormitory. So instead of him going by the dormitory, he went by some other girl's dormitory and got this young lady and come out. Now he want to go to Kroger. So they walking around, picking stuff up, getting all this stuff up out of the basket. I done paid this joker 2 days, $12 an hour. I figure he gonna buy his stuff, you know. So they done got the meat, they done got it. I said, they must be gonna have a party tonight, you know, they ain't cool. Then the girl, she stopped over there in Kroger where the wine at, and she looking, they pointing and whispering to each other. Finally, they put some kind of type of wine in the bucket. So they rolling the thing over up to the cashier. Mark ducked on over there to the door. I said, I'm waiting. I said, boy, come back and pay for this stuff. I done paid you. He looking at me like this. And the lady, the cashier, standing there waiting for her money. So I get up, got to pay for this stuff. Demetrius Brown came, met him when I was working with the city of Detroit. He came out to this project called Herman Garden, this housing project. And I looked around, it was him. He said, well, I'm out here. I said, come out here to work. I said, well, okay. I said, well, I'll take you through the do's and don'ts. I said, I'll tell you about some guys don't mess with. And I was telling them that. I said, now, if you want to stay on the job long enough, you follow my direction. He turned out to be a nice young man. So one day, he told me, he said his daddy died when he was a baby. So I guess he took me took him under my wing. He took me as a father figure. I never heard him swear or cuss the whole time that we were working together. And sometime I would take him on my side job, what I had. He's still working. And then I taught him a lot about plastering, mold work, what we call mold work. It was ornamental work. I've taught him a lot about that. It's not a month to go by, he don't call me. He'll text my wife. Very manageable kid, very manageable young man. And it's just like one of my own. I can't ask for one young man come out and come in and blend in just like your own family. I spend my day kind of like I want to spend it, but I got the FBI behind me or in front of me, one looking at it, trying to see everything what I do. Make sure that I do it right, you know. I don't have to worry about nothing right there. My clothes be clean, food be ready, bed ready, everything. I just enjoy life right now. You can't ask for retirement like I got now. Now, if I get out there in the yard, she out there. Whatever I get ready to do, she blend in with it. Only one thing about it, she don't let me ride the lawnmower anymore. She fired me off of that after I let her get on it one time. But otherwise, living a happy life. I do what I want to do. I got my own clock. And when 2:30 come, I clock out. That's my senior citizen nap. Oh, my Black History, I love Black History. First Black History book I got cost me 75 cents. I had a teacher named Miss Thomas. She was a historian. She always wanted kids to know something about there are people in the past, Du Bois, all of them, George Washington Carver, Woodson. A lot of people say, you don't never hear nothing about Woodson. You always hear about Edison. Woodson made a light bulb, developed a light bulb longer than Edison did. And he was the last one to get into the group of 20 Hall of Fame with the designer for electric. They voted him in last. I mowed lawn to get that 75 cents. And when I first went to Hamilton Hall, I didn't meet a black kid there that knew anything about black history. They had all white teachers. In Lansing, they had, the first black teacher in Lansing was Miss Lett, Dick Lett's wife. The first thing they told her on the board, we never had nobody like you before applied to teach. Instead of saying, like you, that means to me, you mean N-word to me, like you, see. Yeah. She was the first one. Black history is industry. You find a lot what your people have done, even back then from railroad. You wouldn't be riding in an automatic shift car. Automatic transmission wasn't for a black man. First elevator was made by a black man. The first toilet by a black man. Ironing board, ice cream scoop, yeah, air conditioning. Yeah. What made me so mad about when you go to school, the kids go to school with history book, they don't put history in the book. They only put what they want to put in it. And most of it about white folk. You might mention George Washington, Carver. You might mention Christopher Attuck, the first black guy killed charging down the hill with the British. They might mention that.
What advice would you give your 15-year-old self today?
To a 15-year-old?
Yes.
Stay in school. Because a young mind is a bad thing to lose. Get all the education you can. Because what you get up in your head, can't nobody take it away from you, you're gonna die with it. You absorb all the education and pay attention to whatever is spoken right. And if you know something is wrong, run from it. Because when you're coming up at 15 years old, you're gonna be around other young kids, they're gonna say, let's do something. And you know it's wrong, why do it?
What advice would you give to somebody in their 30s?
In the 30s? He should be absorbed a lot of education, past experience, things that he used to do, and he know it's wrong, he can't do it now. At 30 years old, you're young and you're going out different places and stuff. Well, you still got to be aware of the badge as the policeman. And a lot of policemen get on the force because some of them are still Ku Klux Klan. Those are the ones you have to watch today, is the ones that are doing the wrong. They hiding behind the badge. See, between 17, 30, 35 years old, kids, it's a danger part of a young black man's life. Do what the good Lord said do. Live a fruitful life, do the right thing, get you an education. That's come first. And pay attention to all your surroundings and mind your mother and father, that you have long life. Don't let nobody turn you around. And from what your goal. If you got a goal, stick to that and do it. That's why we have inventors today, doctors, lawyers. A lot of times people say that boy not gonna be nothing. But look what we got today.